In this lecture, we're going to implement our mobile menu then. Whenever we click on our mobile menu icon, we want to make sure that our mobile menu appears. So to do this, we're going to do something very similar to what we did with the group. However, in tailwind-css, we also have a peer. So where we can target and add styles based on a peer element's state. So before we get into that though, let's actually implement the mobile menu, and then we'll implement the functionality of hiding it and showing it based on whether the mobile menu button is open or not. So underneath this mobile menu button div then, as a sibling, we want to add another div, and it's within this div that's going to display our mobile menu. So first of all, let's just add mobile menu in here just so we can see something on the screen. And we want to add a bunch of class names to this then. So we want a position of absolute. And just like our gradient for our navbar, we want to add a background gradient of rose to pink. So let's go BG gradient to R, so to the right. And we want to go from rose 500 to pink 500. Then we want to give it a width of full, so that'll give a width of 100%, and we want a left of 0. So let's save this and take a look in the browser. Now then, if we give our local project a refresh, we can see we have our mobile menu here. However, it's overlapping the icon. So ideally, because this is position absolute, we want the mobile menu to start right underneath our navbar. So it looks seamless whenever we open the mobile then, or the mobile menu. It looks seamless from the navbar gradient down to the mobile nav and the mobile menu. However, these are two separate divs, but it looks seamless in the way that we have a position of top. We're going to add a position of top, so it's just starting underneath the navbar. So it looks seamless. It looks like it's one element. So to do this then, we can go back to our code, and we want to add a top positioning to this mobile menu. However, we want to specify a specific value here. So whereas before we've added top dash and then we've stuck to our 4 pixel grid. So starting from top 1 is 4 pixels, and then it's always multiples of 4 all the way down to, let's see what the maximum is 96. So 96 times 4 is 384 pixels. So what happens then if we want a specific value instead of locking into the tailwind-css default grid system? So first of all, let's go ahead and add a top of 16 just to see if this top positioning works for our use case. So let's go ahead and save that and refresh, and we can see that we've got a little white space between the navbar and the mobile menu. So this isn't ideal. We want it to be seamless. So what we want to do then is, we can see that this is going to add a top of 64 pixels. However, and I know this because I've already created it for the final project, so this is actually a 2 pixel gap in here. So we don't need to guess because I already know that this is a 2 pixel gap. So we need a top of 62 pixels rather than 64 pixels. So to specify any unit within tailwind-css is really easy. And this works for positioning, it works for margin, it works for width, it works for height. So anytime we have a top dash, for example, we can just open up a set of square brackets, and then within this square brackets, we can type any value and any unit we like. So we want a 62 pixel height. So if we hover over this, then we can see that tailwind-css is going to generate this class name. It's going to have a top 62 pixel class name, and then it's going to add a top of 62 pixels. So we could do this as well. It doesn't have to be pixels. It could be a percent if we wanted to. So if we add 62% in there, for example, we can see that it's going to add a top of 62%. However, we want pixels for our unit. So we want a top of 62 pixels. Let's go ahead and save this now and take a look in the browser, and let's give it a refresh, and there we go. Our mobile menu and our navbar now looks seamless. So before we add our mobile menu items then, let's go ahead and hook up the functionality where we open and close our mobile menu, and actually hook up the functionality where the mobile menu hides and displays whenever we toggle our mobile menu icon. So for this, what we can do is make use of the peer class within tailwind-css. So first of all, I'm going to show you what the peer class actually does. So this is just an example. We're not going to actually use this as our completed mobile navbar. However, I just want to show you the peer class first. So I'm going to go ahead and add a peer class to the mobile menu button. And then I'm going to add for the mobile menu a peer-hover, just like what we've done with the group and the group-hover class is. And then after the peer-hover, we can add any valid tailwind-css class. So what we could do is, for here, I just want to show you something really obvious. So I'm just going to add a background of black just as an example. So I'm going to save this now. So anytime we hover over this mobile menu button, because we have a peer class here, this mobile menu should now display a background of black. So let's go ahead and check this out in the browser then. If we hit refresh and we hover over our menu icon, and it doesn't seem to actually work, and that's probably because we have a gradient as well. So we're trying to change a gradient to a solid color. So I'm just going to go change this. Instead of BG black, let's go to black. So we're going to go from rows 500, and then whenever we hover over the mobile menu icon, we're going to change, instead of to pink 500, it's going to change to black. So let's save this now and take a look in the browser, give it a refresh and hover over now, and there we go. So this is working now. We can see anytime we hover over the mobile menu icon, our background color changes for the mobile menu. So we can do something very similar then to what we've done with the group and our custom variant. So where we've got our group open variant, we can do exactly the same for the peer open variant. So we can go ahead and create a custom peer open variant. So let's go ahead and do that then in the open variant. Because this is all part of the same functionality, we want to now add a group open variant. So let's go ahead and just copy this add variant then. It can be part of the same plugin because it's all part of the same or similar functionality. So we can go ahead and create a peer-open variant. So this will create a peer-open class. And we want to merge the already existing group class within tailwind-css with a new open class that we're already adding whenever we click the mobile menu icon. So we're already adding that in JavaScript. We're toggling that class name of open. However, now what we want to do is use the sibling selector. So the sibling selector in CSS is the tilde icon. So we can go ahead and use the tilde here. And also, I didn't explain in the last lecture, but I'll also explain in this lecture now what this and is for. So if we go back to our index.html first, and first of all, let's just implement this open and close functionality, and then I'll explain what the ampersand is. So first of all, let's change this. Instead of peer-hover, we want to go peer-open, and we want to display block, but we also want to add a hidden class. So the default is hidden, and then anytime our peer element is open, and actually hovering over this peer.open, I've made a mistake here. It should be in our plugin, it should be peer.open. So let's go ahead and save this first and fix our plugin in the openvariant.js plugin. We want to merge the .peer, not the .group. So because this is targeting the peer now, or any siblings. So we want to make sure we merge the .peer class that already comes out of the box with tailwind-css with our new .open class. So now let's take a look in our index.html. This is all looking good. So if we save this now and take a look in the browser, let's give it a refresh, and our mobile menu has hidden because it's hidden by default. Then if we go ahead and click our menu icon to open it, we can see our mobile menu appears. Let's hit the close button and our mobile menu disappears. So now we're toggling our mobile menu. So in the next lecture then, we're going to add our actual menu items for our mobile menu. But first of all, before we finish up this lecture, I want to explain what the ampersand is in our custom variant for our group open and peer open. So if we go back to our index.html where we're actually using these custom variants then, where we've got peer-open, the ampersand is appending our class name in that location when we specify it in the plugin. So for example, because we've added our merge class, we want to merge the peer class and our custom.open class, we've got our tilde in the plugin, and then this is where tailwind-css is going to generate this particular class name. So we're going to target this class name wherever our ampersand is. So if we go back to our plugin, and let's just change the ampersand then to the beginning of our class definition. So let's save this in our plugin then. So we've got our ampersand here for the peer variant now. Our ampersand is at the beginning. So let's go ahead and hover over the peer.open or the peer-open variant. So now we can see that the peer-open block is positioned where the ampersand is because that's where we specified it in our plugin. So we can see now our peer-open variant adding the block tailwind class is now positioned at the beginning of our generated class names here because this is where we added our ampersand. However, we want to add our ampersand at the end. So let's go ahead and change this then Back in our plugin, we want the ampersand at the end of our class definition. So if we go back to index.html and hover over our peer-open variant, we can now see that whenever our peer class also has an open class, we're targeting any siblings of the .peer.open class names, and we're targeting any siblings that have the .peer-open class and adding the display of block to those siblings. So in the next lecture then, we're going to go ahead and implement our mobile menu items for our mobile menu.